I'm Aaron Garcia. Welcome to episode 16 of Conversations with Aaron, show where I interview local artists, garner free recommendations from them, and highlight their works. Today's guest will be Gilley.
Yo! Hey, what's up? How you doing, man?
And then there's like an audience just like cheering, like, oh, Gilley. All right, cool. Go on and get cozy if you'd like to. Oh, man. Yeah, hopefully the chair, like last episode, it was squeaking really bad, so I don't think we're having that problem today.
We should be good. It
yeah,
feels
we
like
should
it's
be
not,
all right.
not
Yeah, at the moment. Collapse. All right, Gilley, well, thank you so much for being on. It's the first time I'm meeting you and maybe some of the audience members, although I'm sure you have like a large following. First thing I want to ask, question I always ask all of my guests, how are you? How are you doing?
Well, first things first, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Aaron.
Of course, pleasure's all mine.
I'm doing fantastic.
All right,
really good.
I'm glad to hear that. Imagine if I'm doing horribly and just like a little therapy session.
I'm awful, Aaron. I'm glad you asked.
Would you ask
Why would you ask me?
All right, cool. Well, Gilley, so obviously you're an artist. Do you want to sort of break that down? How that like applies to you? What all you do? What all like the term artist in regards to you entails?
Certainly. So yeah, I got into painting about 2 years ago. Well, 2.5 years ago. I went through a really bad breakup with someone I was engaged to, right? And then it hurt a lot.
That'll do it.
So I just started painting. It started out just for fun and everything, but then it kind of started to take off as I started to post them on Instagram, which it's been amazing. The Denton community has been very supportive of me, and I've been really inspired by my brother Toast.
Shout out Toast.
Toast of
awesome.
Toasty Bros.
Toasty Bros, shout out.
So I went through a rough time period, and it's been a difficult 2 years or so. But you know what? Painting has been there for me. The community has been there for me, and it's been phenomenal to have so much support under my artist named Gilley.
Yeah, definitely, dude. And that kind of ties into like when you're going through a rough patch, like just. Obviously, sometimes you just have to fill it out or whatever, but like just like taking a chance, now you took a chance on painting, now here you are. And with regards to that, I mean, because some of your work, which we'll see here in a little bit, is like really good. And so, like, did you have any foundation to work off of, or did you literally start from like just like like level one or whatever? The breakup happens and you immediately started painting. Like, did you have any type of background?
Honestly, I a lot of it's crazy here in Denton, right? There are a lot of artists, a lot of musicians,
talented artists and musicians,
wonderful artists. But I'm not trained in art. I'm not trained in painting. I happen to paint, and my paintings move people just as much as it moves myself as well. So
damn, that's freaking great. So
it's great.
How have you seen? So it's been like 2.5 years, you said. Mm-hmm. How have you seen your work evolve? Like, did you start out doing it one way? Like, like what, oil paint, watercolor? Like, and have you slowly evolved? Like, what kind of changes have you seen in your work?
It's been kind of weird to see how it's progressed, because when I started out, I was just doing it just to do something, right? Mm-hmm. So what I did is I bought some of the cheapest paint from Walmart. Nice. I was in a dark place, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get 3 colors. I'm gonna get black. I'm gonna get white. I'm gonna get red. Mm-hmm. And it was just the cheap kind that you would see in like an art class in like elementary school, right. And I took that and I got some brushes, and then I just started doing it. Honestly, a lot of people who I talk to about painting, I'm like, anybody can paint, genuinely. Mm-hmm. You just have to start with a line. That's essentially all it is. Yeah. In comparison to, I'm also a musician as well, right?
Oh, good.
So I'm very much a perfectionist when it comes to my music, but when it comes to my paintings and my art, I feel it.
That's fascinating.
It's really neat. Most of the time, I don't plan out my painting, short of me painting somebody, which we will see a painting based off of somebody soon.
The audience is like, yes. Oh, timestamp here. But well, that's cool. Well, I mean, we could go different. I mean, you're a musician. I guess we'll get to that here in a little bit. More on the paintings, like, so you start with like basic equipment and gear and whatnot, like. Is that something you still follow, or like as time progressed, did you get a little more confident? Like, okay, maybe I can actually afford to spend like a little, some more money on like this gear?
I highly believe in, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. So I still use the cheap paint. I still use the cheap paint brushes. I still use cheap canvases, and it's crazy. I keep doing the same thing, and obviously my techniques have have changed over time. Just as I'm not afraid to do random things with my paintings. Like, I'll use my hands. I'll use a bunch of water. I'll use. I'll do pretty much anything. As long as it makes me feel something, that's all I care about.
Yeah,
right?
that's freaking legit. And when you paint, do you tend to like let your emotions dictate? I know you said like you don't really like plan aside from like if it's like a portrait. Is that how you kind of like? Or is that like just like one thing you do? Sometimes you just like free will. Like, do you tend to like put more emotion into your work?
I do. Yeah, I think with almost anything in my life, I feel like I put a lot of emotion into it. I'm a very emotional person, and I feel a lot. I'm an empath, honestly. So I
likewise
feel,
probably.
I mean, it makes sense. So honestly, yeah, I feel the heck out of my paintings, and I think that's why my paintings have resonated with so many people, even with highly trained artists around here, and that just means so much to me, and I've gained such a good following. I mean, a year ago I had 300 followers on Instagram, but now I'm at 3,000 something.
That is
which is
insane. Oh my!
It's beyond me. Like I'm just some guy. I'm
just shout out to God, for my success.
Yeah, literally.
Well, that's awesome. Well, speaking of those people, your fans and whatnot. I mean, well, firstly, I assume you've like exhibited your work. You've shown us. Tell me about that. What's that experience like?
Yeah. So in January of this year, I got the opportunity to hang up my paintings in Tom's Daiquiri on Fry Street.
Shout out Tom's Daiquiri.
And for about a 2 or 3 month period, I think it was probably between February and I think April. I had paintings hung up in Hideout, a bar in Fry Street.
Oh, yes.
And then beyond that, before Howling Mutt closed down, my paintings and toasts were hung up all the time.
That's really great.
Yeah. So and nowadays I still have art shows and everything. So Toast and I will do pop-up art shows on the square, and it's been really cool.
That's legit. And I mean, tell me about again, you go from 300 followers to like 3,000, and how has that been? Like, are you recognized here in Denton? Like, do you have like actual like fans or whatever? Like, describe that to me as I'm like desperate. Like, tell me about your fame, like living vicariously through you.
It's funny. I actually developed this thing where I actually get stickers made. Really cheaply made stickers. And what I do is I will, as I talk to people and as I meet people, I just hand them out for free. And those stickers end up everywhere, man. I feel like I can't go on a street on the square or on a street in Fry Street without seeing one of those stickers that I hang out. And there are plenty of. I'd be happy to show you some a little later.
Oh yeah. Again, the audience is like trembling. Just
and you know what? It's funny. I'll go into a bar. I'll go into a store or something, and I'll just briefly say my name. I'll say my name's Gilley to somebody, and they're like, "Wait, you're the guy? You're that guy?
You're El Barto? Like,
yeah. You're the guy on the stickers."
That's freaking legit. Well, cool. Well, speaking of that, so obviously, a lot of the guests I have are, local to Denton and whatnot, obviously, like us. I just want to ask, like, have you expanded your work? Like, have you, gone outside of Denton, like maybe even like Texas, like as far as showing your work? Like, any experiences with that?
Not yet. I am very fortunate to have a lot of followers that aren't just here in Denton, Texas. But I don't even think
Denton has 3,000 people. So yeah, I bet.
I mean, I've got people. I've got a follower and halfway across the world who likes probably all of my posts and all my stories, and then I've got people in like New York and New Mexico, and I haven't gotten the chance to expand past Texas, but hey, whenever I get the opportunity, I'm gonna take it.
Heck yeah, we can't wait for it. And well, talking about like your work itself. So what do you tend to? So you mentioned portraits. What are some other things you enjoy? Like painting or coming up with?
Yeah. So sometimes.
You're speaking to a very ignorant person, by the way.
Hey,
so
no, that's
simple terminology.
That's okay. No. And honestly, I'm probably not the best with the terminology either. I'm just, like I said, I'm just some guy who enjoys painting.
Yeah, dude. All right, cool. Well, some portraits.
Yeah. So a lot of my two of my most popular paintings, and we'll get a chance to look at those shortly. Two of my most popular characters, if you will, are the Birdman. You know, what's funny about the Birdman is when I painted it, it was the third painting I ever painted, and I painted it, and I was like, I hate this painting, but you know what? I posted it, and it took off.
Dang.
And I realized, well, I guess I've got to keep posting the Birdman and keep painting the Birdman. And I've grown to love the Birdman. It's been so synonymous with my name. In addition to the soup in a suit.
Soup in a suit.
Now, this is one of the few paintings that I did plan out. I was at work one day. I'm a used car salesman at CarMax.
Nice. Hey, that's legit.
I mean, you know, it is what it is. It pays the bills, right?
Exactly.
But I was just at work and I was like, you know what? It would be funny. A can of soup that's wearing a suit. And I went home that night and I painted a soup in a suit.
Oh my goodness! And dare I say, is that one that I'm seeing off camera right now?
Yes, yeah, you're looking at it right there.
I will be looking at that shortly. And that's awesome. And you know, so you mentioned the Birdman. You know, you posting on social media, and that sort of garnered like a lot of likes and whatnot.
Yeah.
Do you lean on social media a lot? Do you like have it, to gauge a reaction on something? Are you very active on social media?
I'm very active, and I've seen how that's been so integral and so important to growing my art and growing honestly just a following period.
Yeah.
So I'm very much active on social media. I'm always advertising my work and always advertising if I'm going to be at an event or just. In addition to that, I also love to support local artists too, because there have been a lot of people who've gone out of their way to support me.
Yeah.
So it's something common you'll see on my social medias is I'll share close artist friends and other artists that I adore. So I do lean on social media.
Yeah, exactly, man. You lean on it and it leans on you, so it's a nice little relationship like that. And tell me, so. Do you come from like a family of artists, or like is it like was your background like anything?
No, not really. No, I am kind of my younger sister. She does play some music, and I've been trying to get her into painting and expressing herself with painting because it's done wonders for me and my mental health. But no, not really. No, I'm just I just love to create. I was never good at athletics. I was just because of that I had to lean on something else, and I fell in love with art and music and creating and writing.
Frequently. And well, let's talk about the music for a bit. What all do you do? Like
I'm not an expert at music either, and
it's all good. I'm self-taught, so it's all good.
Exactly. I just like to create simple music, and I have an acoustic guitar and I have a Telecaster, and I like to play. I'm not confident enough to perform yet, but still, I spend a lot of time at home just writing music, and I just enjoy it. It can be stressful sometimes because I put a lot of pressure on myself.
Because you said you're a perfectionist when it comes to music, with art or with painting. It's a little more. That's hilarious.
It's kind of well. It's also being in Denton, man. It's so. There are so many phenomenal musicians.
Really,
it's so intimidating, man. I go to a concert or I go to a jazz night or something. I'm like, holy cow! I can't even fathom.
That's really legit. Yeah, that is something or whatever. I mean, it's very intimidating and whatnot. And speaking of that, and in portraits, I'm always just curious when it comes to artists. Like, are you ever commissioned to do your work? Like, have you ever been asked? Because your work's incredible. So, like, do you ever have people like reaching out to you to make something? And is that something you accept or go through, or do you try not to?
Yeah, so it kind of depends. Because I like to, when I paint, I like to feel and I like to enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes when someone asks you to paint something or you're commissioned to paint something, it kind of takes a little bit of the fun out of it. Whereas it is nice because it's generally a good amount, right? But I have commissioned, I think, one painting. This musician in Fort Worth, actually, he reached out to me. Shout out to you, Ozzy.
Ozzy?
Ozzy. Yeah, he asked me to paint him a portrait of him in his band. He has face makeup on. So he asked me to paint in my art style, him and his makeup, and I did it. And it took me a little bit, and I did enjoy that because I just appreciated that he was so supportive of my art. And by the way, this is a guy I never met. This is just a random guy who I happened to connect with on social media, and you know what? It's crazy. And honestly, his band's super talented, and he's super talented too.
Yeah. Shout out.
Shout out.
Well, cool. And so I want to ask now, like, you know, with your art, you know, your paintings, like, where do you kind of want it to take you? Do you have like a goal in mind? Do you want it to be like, you know, where you're able to like, you know, make a living off of it, like selling paintings? Like, do you have like a sort of goal in mind?
You know, I try not to plan too much. I'm very much enjoying where I'm at right now, but I'm always like, if I get to a spot where I can just I can just paint for a living or create for a living, man, I would do that in a heartbeat, right? But as of right now, I'm just chilling, you know. I'm just enjoying what I've got, you know. Nice,
dude. That's actually kind of when we do our recommendations here in a little bit, I'll be talking about that. It is, as I've grown older, you know, I'm 27, right? And it just sometimes, like, you know, you realize like things aren't like the greatest, but they're fine. They're good, and you know, you just have to like sit back and relax. And that's definitely like the phase I'm in now, because I graduated. I have like steady income, like just nice to be happy or whatever, just be content with life, and that's perhaps I will try painting.
Hey, that'd be really cool. I'd love that. Yeah, if you got time, you can come over and we can try it.
Start with circles and shapes and whatnot.
If you look at a painting and if you think about a painting, all it is, you start with a line, you start with a shape, because that's all humans are. We're shapes, you know.
Yeah, literally. Some wider than others.
Well, I got a beer guy.
No, you're good. And well, sort of last thing, you know, and then we'll sort of get into our recommendations. But last kind of questions I want to ask about your paintings. The finished product we see, is it just like a one and done? Like, do you start over? Like, what's that sort of process like of actually creating a painting?
Yeah, some of them are quicker than others. Some paintings, I know when I'm done with a painting because I feel it. Like I just some voice in my head or something's like, hey, this is it. This is good enough. I have posted, I think, about 92 paintings on my Instagram. Okay. But in comparison, there are probably 50 that are unreleased, just because I'm not satisfied with them, right? So there are several paintings that I go over and over, and some of these paintings here, they were other paintings prior, but they became these paintings. And you know, it's, I don't know. It happens.
I can't wait until we revisit this episode in like a year. You said like 92 posts, but then like at that point it's like 1,000. That's freaking legit. All right, well, Gilley, well, thank you so much for all of that. You know, it was really nice meeting you, talking about your art and whatnot. I feel a lot closer to you, which is easy because we never met before. I know the audience does, and well, I guess you ready to recommend some stuff to the audience now?
Certainly, yeah.
All right, bet. Hey, audience, I actually have paper this time. Last time it was on my phone, so. Bam. All right, cool. Well, you know, the way it works is pretty simple. It's going to be 6 total. 1 1 2 2 3 3 4 4 5 5 6 6. Okay. All right. Let's do this.
All right. I didn't explode good enough. Let's redo that.
I like literally go.
Yeah.
Right, cool. Hello, audience of Conversations with Aaron. Gilley and I are now going to recommend 6 things to y'all. And like usual, mine consists of just songs and maybe movies and a bit of life advice or whatever, so stay tuned for that. The first thing I'm going to recommend is a song, one of my all-time favorites. It is You Make Loving Fun by Fleetwood Mac. Rest in peace, Christine, the singer, passed away, I think, was it earlier this year or last year?
Yeah, I believe so.
Sad. But phenomenal song, great. It's off of, pretty sure this is off of Rumors, I think. Yeah. You know, Fleetwood Mac, at least now a lot of people know, like, you know, the sort of popular songs like Dreams, Rain On, however you say that, and I guess Everywhere now because it was on that car commercial. But You Make Loving Fun, it's so funny. Have you heard the song?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, it's so crazy. It starts out kind of like funky with that bass line or whatever, but then once Christine starts singing, it becomes like ethereal, and then the chorus is just like so beautiful and whatnot, and it's an absolutely great song. If you're not feeling it, just blast the song any time during the day, and it'll put you in a good mood, at least for like 3-4 minutes. But yeah, that's my first recommendation. Gilley, what is yours?
Well, the first things first. I know I kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, By the way, that's a tremendous song.
See, if I recommend something, it is what it is. But Gilley sing it's good, therefore you know it's good. Like, minor hit or miss.
I know a thing or two. Well, first recommendation, I mentioned a little bit earlier. I'm a part of Toasty Bros with my brother Toast, and shout out to the Toasty Poet on Instagram and Toasty Bros beer. It's phenomenal. It's such a different beer, and I think it's for one main reason. One, it's delicious, but two, it's made with love. It's made with so much love, and I have so much love for the people that are behind Toasty Bros, and I have a feeling you will too.
Hey, coming to a local brewery near you, Toasty Bros. That's legit. I slowly started getting into beer. Like I never was much of a drinker just because I was like, but I've started, so I'll definitely have to try that. It's called Toasty Bros.
Toasty Bros beer. Yeah, there are several different types. There are very few bars on the square that don't have Toasty Bros at it, and we're slowly making our way around.
Hey, well, drink responsibly and definitely choose Toasty Bros. That'll be a great option.
Don't drink and drive.
Definitely don't do that. Drink and watch this show. It'll make the show flow a lot better. It'll be cool.
Hey, and I'll drink to that.
Hey, yeah. Baby cup and Dragon Ball Z cup. Hey. Cool. Alrighty, gang. So thank you for that recommendation, by the way. My second recommendation is to be another song. A song that I actually had a few weeks back, but this one's slightly different. The song is Heartbeats by Jose Gonzalez, but this one is Jose Gonzalez featuring String Theory. Find it on YouTube. It's a live performance of the song, and goodness gracious, like the original song by itself is like one of my all-time favorites and whatnot, and it's perfect as it is. And so when I saw, sometimes when you hear a live performance of a song, it doesn't really live up to the studio, for obvious reasons. But this I think is actually better, and like the added strings and whatnot, the string arrangement to it is just great once it gets into like the choruses and you first like slowly get the strings like coming in. It's so seamless and whatnot, and it doesn't feel forced or anything like that, because Jose's still, doing his little acoustic guitar, but everything back, it just sounds right. It doesn't sound, like a small indie song with like this huge operatic thing, and they just mesh so well together. So if you haven't checked out the song by itself, like check that out definitely. But then if you like it, check out the version with String Theory attached. It's phenomenal, and look it up on YouTube. It's great, and that's a beautiful song. I know what I'm doing after this. Put this on repeat. But yeah, that is my recommendation. My second recommendation, Gilley, what is yours?
Phenomenal. Well, first things first, Jose Gonzalez is extremely talented. Yeah. He's such a good artist.
I'm ashamed to I know 2 songs by him. This is one of them. But yes, he is very talented from what I've seen.
Very talented guy. I've got like a weird core memory of playing Red Dead Redemption, and like halfway through the game, randomly you're going from one area to the next. One of his songs made just for that game just starts playing in the background. It's such a vibe. It's so cool.
I know for a fact some of our audience members probably played Red Dead Redemption. They're like, I know exactly what Gilley's talking about.
Yeah, and this is the not the most recent one, but this is the one that was on like the Xbox 360. Like
the first one. Okay. That's legit.
Yeah, recommendation. Honestly, this is an album that means a lot to me. It's one that makes me feel a lot. I definitely recommend I See a Darkness by Bonnie Prince Billy. It's an artist that not a lot of people know of, and honestly, I brought the vinyl. Am I able to share it?
Yeah, feel free. Yeah, please do.
Try not to fall.
Oh yeah. Hey, you survived.
I did survive.
I can hold on to those.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got a recommendation. I See a Darkness. It's something I found back in high school. And
oh no, you gotta hold that up.
I gotta hold it up. I gotta hold it up. It's such a dope album cover, and it's what I love about this album is his singing voice. Certain areas of it are just so imperfect, and I am such a believer in. Things don't have to be perfect because they aren't. We live so much of our lives trying to live by a script, right?
Yeah.
When in reality, I think it's so much more fun to kind of ad-lib your life or kind of what's another word for that?
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking of like what you said about Birdman. Like you didn't plan for that, and then it took off. You know, like the imperfections or whatever ultimately end up like it's how you navigate through your imperfections that ultimately define you. Shout out Conan O'Brien. That's a quote of his. It's everybody's trying to be perfect, but it's how you like overcome like the obstacles or whatever. That's ultimately what defines you.
Yeah, I mean, that's yeah. That's I don't know. I just highly believe in it.
Yeah.
But this album is phenomenal, and it's so much better even on vinyl. I found it one day at a Half Price Books, and it was just like best day of my life.
Bro, literally top 3 day of all.
Literally.
Dude, I'm slowly getting into like liking vinyls. And they just sound different. I can't explain it, but there's something pristine about it.
It's such a great experience painting, drinking like wine or beer, and having a nice vinyl in the background. It's amazing. It also makes for a good date too.
Right? Yeah, well, what's that thing called? Like painting with the twist or something?
Yeah.
Where you're drinking wine. Hey,
there
I've always
you go.
wanted to do that. That's cool. Cool. Thank you. That's
All right.
Badass album.
Yeah,
cool.
it is cool.
You want me to switch with you?
Yeah, you can hold on to those.
Yeah, I got you. And then alrighty, gang. Well, thank you so much for that, Gilley.
Yeah.
Because I always recommend songs. Rarely do I do full albums, so thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Add some variety to the show. Cool. Well, the third recommendation I'm going to recommend to y'all is another song. It is the Nile song by Pink Floyd. A seldomly heard song by Pink Floyd, but it is probably my favorite song by Pink Floyd. If I'm not mistaken, it's off of an album that they made as like a soundtrack to a movie or something. So I think I've never seen the movie, but as far as I know, the movie just consists of like all these songs on the album. I think they're played diegetically, I think that's the word, where it's just sort of like, coming from radio. It's not like a score. It's just like songs that are heard in the background of the scene. The Nile song, I feel like Dropkick Murphys, I'm shipping up to Boston, owes a lot to this song because they sound the exact same kind of like as far as like the screams. But yeah, it's so heavy, and which is crazy because I think it's late 60s, early 70s and whatnot. But the type of heaviness that it's doing is stuff that, I don't know, you expect more from like metal bands. And because when I think of Pink Floyd, I don't think of like metal, right?
No.
I don't think anyone does. I don't even think they do. But the Nile song, I mean, the screams, just throughout like the verses, he's just screaming so badly, and it's like just so great, and like I don't know, it's a phenomenal song. It's heavy, it's great, and y'all know I like heavy songs, and yeah, definitely check it out. The Nile song by Pink Floyd, you won't regret it. Do it when you're like on the highway too, just like But yeah, that is my third recommendation. Gilley, what is yours?
Oh man, I'll go and stop you there, man. Pink Floyd is phenomenal, man.
Great,
you got some great music taste.
Thank you.
Holy cow!
That's just the start of it.
Holy cow! It's gonna get better from here, I guess.
Maybe.
Well, maybe we'll find out.
Oh man, to be determined.
My next recommendation, I'll tell you. I have a beautiful weenie dog named Molly Dog. Dog is her middle name, Gilley's her last name, just like it's mine. But I gotta say, she is an older dog. She's 9 or 10 years old now. And my big recommendation is, if you're adopting a pet, adopt a senior dog, because man, she is such a good dog. And when I got her, she needed so much love. Hey, but I also needed so much love too. Dang. And you know what? Every day it is absolutely beautiful being able to go home, and it makes this girl's day. And what's great about my dog is like it's
everything.
Well, of course that goes without saying. She's perfect. Yeah. No, weenie dogs have so much personality, and she has way too much personality, a Napoleon complex, if you will. But I'll tell you, my dog is a constant reminder of. She's excited about the simple things in life. She gets so excited to eat. She gets so excited to wake up, go on a walk, go outside. She gets excited just to go use the restroom. So my dog is a reminder to me how important it is just to enjoy the little things and be thankful for what you have, even if it's something as small as going outside.
Yeah. Molly. So her name is, you said
Molly, yeah, Molly Dog.
Molly Dog Gilley. Yeah. That's awesome. It was MDG. Oh man, that's beautiful, man. I really like that. Yeah, because like always like adopt them shop, but yeah, seldom do I hear like adopt like a senior dog, because they always want like the little, for obvious reasons, little baby puppies or cute. But yeah, so that's really great, and
Yeah.
that's special because man, like they're not being loved and whatnot, like all these old dogs. It's like oh, that's really sad.
She literally saved my life. She's great. She's amazing. So yeah, before you think about adopting a young dog, hey, think about it.
Consider your dog. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, man.
Yeah, of course.
Just curious. Are you a cat person also?
I don't mind cats, but I don't have a cat because my dog does not like cats.
Gotcha.
And she doesn't like donkeys either. We found
Oh,
that
my.
out the other night. We were okay. So we were at a bar, the Bearded Monk in Denton, on the Denton Square. Sorry, and there was a donkey out front, and she was just not having it. She just did not like the donkey.
Damn, bro.
That's the story, man. That's it.
That's awesome. I love that though. I think she does not like donkeys. That's perfect.
Donkeys, flies, and thunderstorms.
Yeah, that's two of the three things I don't like either. So. Well, shout out Molly Dog. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for that, Gilley. All right, so we're down to our last three. So the fourth recommendation that I'm going to do is another song. It's actually two songs by the same band. I went ahead and put them together because, the show has no rules. I'm the creator. I dictate the rules. But the two songs are I'm a Million, and Getting Hot by the Runaways. The Runaways are a band that I feel like a lot of people know, but they don't actually know too many of their songs. Granted, they were only, I think, from like 75 to 79, so they only had like 2 or 3 albums. Everybody knows, like Cherry Bomb, blah, blah, California Paradise. But I tell you, I'm a Million, Getting Hot. I'm a Million is off of, I believe, their last album, which is called Now Here's the Runaways, something like that. Lita Ford is on lead vocals. She's also the lead guitarist, and such a great song. It's, oh my God, like that main riff is just so spicy. It's so kick-ass or whatever, and just paired with her vocals, it's a phenomenal song. Getting Hot is off of their live from Japan album, so this song is only available as a live track, and it is so incredibly heavy, and I think it just encapsulates the band as a whole, because it's the original lineup. So Cherry Curry, I think is her name, is like singing, obviously Joan Jett, rhythm guitar, Lita Ford, lead guitar. I know everybody. Jackie Fox on bass, Sandy West on drums. They're one of my favorite bands.
You're a big fan.
Yeah, I love the Runaways, dude. But Getting Hot on it, just because of how heavy it is, I think it just encapsulates I think they were like the right band at the wrong time. I feel like if they would have came in like the 80s when like the Bangles and who else? The Go-Go's, they would have been different because they're a lot heavier, but they came in a time, unfortunately, where I feel like they faced a lot of sexism and criticism. I look at reviews from the time, and they themselves aren't really being reviewed. It's more of their, I guess, manager at the time, Kim Fowley or something like that. And it's just a shame, dude, because they were very short-lived. A lot of great music, but a lot that I feel like people don't really discover aside from the surface level ones. And start with these 2 songs and go down a rabbit hole, because you'll realize man, this is a phenomenal band. They were really good. They were ahead of their time, quite frankly. And so check them out. I'm a Million and Getting Hot by the Runaways, and just check out their entire discography too. You won't regret it. At least I hope you wouldn't. That's my 4th recommendation. What's yours, Gilley?
All right. Well, I'll actually take another one of those albums. I'll take this top one.
Alpha.
So I am a huge fan of Van Morrison, a fellow short king, by the way.
Hey, yo.
Yeah, he's about my height. I'm 5'3", by the way. Nice. This album is one of the few albums that I've listened to. It's Moondance by Van Morrison, and I'll tell you, it's one of the few albums where every single song is phenomenal. I adore this album, and I adore this guy's music. I got to see him in concert about a year ago with my ex, and holy cow, he can still play the saxophone like crazy. It's amazing. But support your fellow short kings.
Yeah. Do it.
hey, and be confident in who you are. Goes a long way.
Now, Van, he was a part of the band, right? Is that his background?
He was part of the, if I'm not mistaken, the Yardbirds.
The Yardbirds,
I think, and then, and I could be wrong there, but
Yeah,
then he went on a solo career, and he has several amazing albums.
Yeah, if I'm probably wrong, so forgive me. But speaking of him and Pink Floyd, I'm like 56% sure. I think he did a live collab with, I forget the singer from Pink Floyd, but they were doing Comfortably Numb, and that song is on the soundtrack to The Departed, which is a really good version of Comfortably Numb. I'm pretty sure it's Van Morrison.
I've not heard that. If that's a thing, that sounds amazing.
Yeah,
is it David Gilmour or is it Roger Waters?
I think it's Roger, because David Gilmour I know is like the guitarist too, right? Yeah, so it's I think Roger Waters and Van Morrison.
Oh, nice.
If I'm wrong, I'm just gonna cut this whole thing out. But I think I'm pretty sure it's Van Morrison, because Martin Scorsese is a huge Van Morrison fan, and yeah, but
oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Fun fact. It's crazy how everything was just sort of tied together. You mentioned one, and great album though.
Nice. Oh, I'll go ahead and hit this back to you.
Oh yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, Gilley. All right, down to our last two recommendations. All right, the next recommendation I have, actually I don't have it written, but it's gonna be a film that came out a few weeks ago. It's Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Yes, because I'm clearly the target audience for this film. A very great coming-of-age film. You can never go wrong when you have Kathy Bates in a movie. Love Kathy Bates.
I'll drink to
Rachel
that.
McAdams. Yeah, bro. Oh, like Double Fist. Oh. But yeah, just a great movie, and it's what it's about. Coming-of-age tale. A girl's like kind of going through puberty and whatnot, and I think it's a good movie for just really boys and girls to sort of watch at a young age. I think it deals with themes that the idea that you're judged for, things that are natural to your body and whatnot. And I don't know, there's such a stigma on certain things about, when it comes to sex education and that sort of thing, that it's this big hush-hush taboo thing. And I don't think it has to be like that. And I think the movie really touches on that in a really good and very thoughtful way. It's a very funny, charming movie. And definitely check it out. It's one of those easygoing movies. It's not going to put you in a bad mood. It just sort of, you can just relax and watch it. And it's oh, that's a nice little movie. So check it out. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Yeah. Yeah, that's my recommendation.
Well, I'll have to give it a watch, because I haven't even seen a trailer or anything for it. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I will say the trailer didn't do it justice. But yeah, anywho, that's my fifth recommendation. What is your fifth recommendation?
Fifth recommendation. Well, honestly, I've made a lot of mistakes in these past 2 years. I've made a lot of mistakes in these past 3 years, honestly, and I continue making mistakes here and there, right? And I got to be honest. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, and don't be afraid to take chances on things, because you know what? How many lives do you have? As far as you know.
As far as I know, half of one.
Half of one?
Got one, yeah. That's very true.
Yeah, hey, how many lives do you have? So, I mean, obviously you don't want to go out of your way to hurt people, but still, make mistakes, become a better you, become a better version of you, because I feel like, personally, in the past 4 months, I've become the best version of myself that I've been in a long time. So make those mistakes and learn from your mistakes, and have grace for those, especially if others have given you grace.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah. That's beautiful, man. I really like that, and that's you're hitting all the right notes for me, dude. That's a lot of stuff that I feel like I've kind of gone through, and I'm going through. I guess going through isn't the right, because I'm going through this. No, I'm going through a very good time right now.
Well, and another thing too is forgive yourself.
Yeah.
And that's really hard to do. Believe me, you gotta learn to forgive yourself, because man, that's what has helped me tremendously.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry to interrupt you.
No,
I
that's
just
great.
Thought that was a very important note.
No, that's great, because it kind of ties into what will be my last recommendation. It's a piece of life advice. Going off of that, it was just, I don't know, because I can be a very impulsive person. If I don't do something, or whether it be forming a relationship or a friendship with someone, I'm that's it. But just again, going back to the idea, I'm 27 right now. I still have a lot to learn, right? I'm still young. I'm still very young. But it's one of those things you have to kind of take a step back every now and then. If it feels like you're going through a rough patch, you got to just, life goes on. This is, I think back to what I was going through, like when I was 21, I thought that was in the world. Here I am 6 years later, and all that stuff I've moved on from and I've grown from. And, the big thing I kind of want to tell people is sometimes, like, if you have to make a decision, whether it be like, pursuing someone or whatever, and maybe in the back of your mind, what the decision is, but you don't really actually want to come to terms with it because it's going to hurt you, or, you just think like, I'm going to have to say goodbye to someone, I'm going to have to cut someone off, or just whatever, like, make that decision though, like, kind of do it, it'll ultimately pay off. And this is kind of a personal thing. Like a few weeks ago, I had this like opportunity to like possibly see someone who I really fancied for like the last time ever, but I knew it wasn't the right decision to do it for, circumstances I won't get into. My heart was telling me like, no, dude, like, go see her. I was like, no, it's not going to be right. So I didn't, and I got to tell you, I didn't do it, and life ended up that day and it being like one of the greatest days of my life. I don't know how. It was just, so sometimes you have to do that, dude. You have to take the higher road or the tougher road, and you have to like let things go and just let them be, and just, life goes on and whatnot, and just don't ever feel like you have to stay in that same thing. I know it's really hard, it's really hard to get out of that, so I don't want to like throw toxic positivity at y'all, but just keep living your life. Don't ever feel like you can't or you're prohibited from doing so. Like Gilley said, don't be afraid to make mistakes. We all do, and that's how we grow. And so, yeah, do that. This is gonna be very interesting when I put on the list, because I don't actually know how I'm gonna word that, but I'll find a way. If you're watching this, I somehow found a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, that's my last recommendation. Gilley, you want to finish this off?
I would love to finish. Well, last thing I wanted to share, and this is this album.
I always thought that was James Franco.
Honestly, they look a lot alike. They really do. I know there was a lot of fan castings. Oh, James Franco. Yeah. But no, this album has meant the world to me since middle school. I came across it, and honestly, it kind of had the Birdman effect. I listened to it and I hated it.
No, you want
and
to
then
show the
I do. Wait, I wanted to like lead it. I'm leading into it.
Oh, I ruined it.
You're all good. No, you didn't. No, I honestly, it has meant the world to me, and I'd love to share it. It's Jeff Buckley's Grace, and I know I mentioned Grace just a second ago. That wasn't planned, but
no such thing as a coincidence.
And like I said, it had the Birdman effect, right? So I started out, I listened to it in like 8th grade, and I was like, I don't like this. Then I listened to it again and again and again, and I kept feeling. And I got to be honest, I don't think there's another musician that makes me feel the way that Jeff Buckley has. Have you listened to the album?
Probably like peripherally, like where I'm not aware of it, but like this is like, I feel like everybody knows like at least this album cover, so surely I have.
It's gained a lot of traction.
While you talk, I'm gonna see what songs are on.
Yeah, so he's well known for Hallelujah, but I'll tell you, it's not not even the best song on the album. It's not even in the top 5 in my opinion. It's a great song and it's a great rendition, but man, he was very underrated in his time of living, and it's been a wonder being able to see other people, even other people in Denton, really respect his music and really feel it the way that I do,
Yeah.
So yeah, Jeff Buckley's Grace.
Quick aside, that's something I always think about, like as an artist, just like the idea of your work living beyond you and whatnot. It's always interesting. Like one of my favorite filmmakers, Orson Welles. Anyone knows him. He's very ahead of his time, I guess. He would always make things that people hated at the time. Years went by. Oh, it's actually a masterpiece. He makes Citizen Kane. His first film ever. It's considered one of the greatest films of all time. But I don't know. There was this interview with his friend and fellow filmmaker Peter Bogdanovich, where Peter Bogdanovich, this is after Orson Welles already passed away, he says like the saddest thing. He's like, yeah, one day I was having a conversation with Orson, and we're talking about like the respect that his work has garnered, and Orson had just sort of taken it in. He's like, there are some times where I wish I could just get the respect now. I wish I could just be of my time now, and it was just a very sad sort of, because obviously I had already passed away at this point.
Yeah.
But just kind of a shame, like, he didn't get the full admiration in his like prime, but then he passes away. Now everybody looks at him. It's like, What if?
It's
Very
crazy
sad.
how many people there are in history like that who.
Yeah.
It's really sad, especially because a lot of them struggle with. It's that way for a lot of artists and musicians. It's struggle with mental health and mental health issues, and it's really upsetting to see people like, of course, like Van Gogh, obviously one of the greatest painters of all time, but he had no popularity or money during his time of living. Same thing with Nick Drake. Are you aware of Nick Drake?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. He's really famous for the album Pink Moon, but he didn't sell any copies. He was not popular at all. A lot of his concerts people wouldn't even go to. But then they, after he died, and he died young, he gained traction, and unfortunately he got fame after the fact, and he has made some of the greatest songs and greatest albums that I've ever heard. So it's definitely heartbreaking. Yeah.
F. Scott Fitzgerald, Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
He didn't write like a single. Well, he wrote all these books that were later on critically acclaimed, and they're on Heaven now. They're like, just toasting, like, damn, like we're making millions. Like, what? They're having a good laugh about it. I'm sure. But
I feel like and I feel like I don't know how you would feel, but personally, if that happened to me, I think I'd be happy just being recognized or people knowing of my name after the fact. Even if during my time period, people don't remember me. I think I'd be satisfied by that.
No, there's something great about that. I mean, I'll be jamming to like songs or watching movies with actors who the entire cast and crew are like dead or deceased or whatever, and I'm still enjoying it. And there's something really poignant and beautiful about that. When you find like that really good thing from like, at this point, like a century ago, because I mean, and you're watching and it feels like it was made for you, and it's like it's crazy when something resonates with you from like way back then. Because it shows that like the emotions we go through are like universal, and sometimes it feels with like the advent of social media and just where we are now, it's like everything's so new, but then the human condition is kind of always the same. Like we all go through like bouts of depression and whatnot, and just kind of
Well, I think that's beautifully stated.
Genuinely. Thank you. I felt like I was like, am I making sense? So thank you.
Hey, it makes sense to me.
Heck yeah. And that's all that matters. The 5 viewers we have, they're like, what do you say? All right, well, thank you, Gilley.
Of course.
Thank you for recommending those things to the audience. I know the audience love them. I already do. And well, thank y'all so much, for hearing this out. We're going to take a quick little break. When we come back, we'll be talking about Gilley's work. I hope you are ready. I know I am. And so stay tuned. You won't want to miss it. Boop.
Boop.
All right. And we're back. Thank you so much for sticking around. All right, Gilley, while you're still right here, you haven't escaped. I always assume one of my guests are going to just like run away, like come back. All right, cool. Well, now we're going to be looking at some of your work. I know the audience is excited. I'm very excited. And you have your first piece in front of us. First off, what is this called? It's very striking.
So I call this one Gilley's First.
Gilley's First. Nice.
So this is the first painting that I ever painted. I was painting with my buddy Ash, and it was just for fun. We're just having a good time, and I just started with a line, and it started to become something. And obviously, I didn't even sign it because I didn't go by my last name then, and it's just very important because it started it all.
Nice.
So I just call it Gilley's First.
Nice. So this was like 2.5 years ago, like when you first started?
2.5 years ago, yeah. It's crazy, and you can tell it's been through a little bit when I moved.
Hey, that adds to it, though.
But it does, yeah. So it's probably one I'll never sell. I don't know, but it means a lot because it started a whole thing.
Nice. Okay. And how long did this piece take you?
Probably like 45 minutes.
45 minutes.
Like because we were just painting for fun,
And do you recall like what your thoughts were like when you first made it, like how you felt about it?
I was really proud of myself. I was really proud of myself. I shared it with Toast. I think I even put it on my Instagram story at the time, and I was in a really dark, really sad spot with this one, just because I was getting over my then fiance and just working through it. But painting, like I said earlier, it really helped me out, and this was the start of it.
Nice. And I want to kind of ask, as it applies to this painting, but I guess your work in general, you painted during a dark time. Do you feel like the emotions are reflected in your work upon like you making it? Like, do you think someone can look at this and analyze like, oh, Gilley was going through this or that? Like, do you think that's a fair thing to for viewers to do?
Certainly. I mean, I don't know about this specific painting, but man, I've gotten to see several people cry looking at my paintings, and I've gotten to see a lot of people just get emotional and get moved by them altogether, and that just is that is the best feeling in the world when you create something, especially when you're in a bad state or an emotional state, and you see that another person feels that same exact way. I can't replicate that feeling. It's just it's absurd to me. But yeah, I think a lot of people, and I think the reason a lot of people like it, like I said, I'm not a classically trained artist. I don't have a degree in art. I just paint, and it makes people feel things. And I think that's why people like my paintings so much. It's because they're raw. They just exist. They are,
It's great, man. You have the passion for it. It don't matter the background. It's awesome. And so, you said very famously, so this started with the line. Can you recall like what the starting point for this piece was?
I'm gonna have to go back in time. I think I started with the head.
The head.
I think
just like a nice little
head, and then I was like, you know what? He needs to be a dapper gentleman. He needs to have a suit. And like I said, I had 3 different paint colors. I had white, I had black, and I had red.
Oh, you had red? Okay,
and,
cool.
And yeah, if you look very, very distinctly in the background, got red in the background. And honestly, I have had this idea, and I'm thinking about doing it at some point this year. I want to do a recreation of this, but in my current art style, just to see exactly what it would look like and how it would resonate in regards to my current style.
It's freaking legit. So the print we're looking at, this is like the original. This is like literally where you painted it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, nice. Do you make copies of your work?
I do. Yeah.
I don't know if that's like the right word.
No, well, yeah. I make prints, and those are very popular because, on average, my paintings sell for about 100 a piece, depending on the size of them and everything and how long it took me. But prints are great because, especially being in a college town, not everybody can afford a painting, right? So it's beautiful to have prints because my prints are significantly less expensive, and it still makes people happy. It still moves people. I think I even have a print of this guy here. I make prints of almost all of my paintings. Yeah.
Just then, this looks like a nice little album cover.
And I'd love to make an album cover. That sounds really dope.
Hit up Gilley. All right, well, cool. It's obviously, known for being your first painting, and it's beautiful. Any closing comments on it you want to make, like as far as the creation, or is that just like a sort of little warm up?
I think it kind of speaks for itself. It's my first, and think about it now. I've posted about 92 other paintings now, and look where we are now.
And it all started with this one, right?
Started with this guy. Nice. He's nothing special about him. He just exists.
You made it, therefore it's special. Cool. So last thing, so this was called
Gilley's First.
Gilley's First, man. All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. You ready to go on to the second one?
Oh, I was born ready.
All right, let's get that one out.
All right. Give me just a second here.
Yeah. Aaron just like slowly dances.
Do you try to put the paintings in another spot, or?
Oh, if you want to bring them over here, I guess.
Over here. I didn't even think about it.
Nah, I didn't either. This is all gonna be unedited. We're getting the full. Nice.
All right. All right. So
painting number 2.
Painting number 2.
Is that the Birdman that you talking about in the interview?
This is the Birdman. So there are several different types of Birdman paintings. Every time I display a Birdman, every time I hang one up, they sell like this. And this is the original. This is the one that hangs up in my place. And I got to be honest, I don't think it's ever been out of my house. So
Conversations with Aaron exclusive.
I thought this was an important time to share the official and original Birdman, because the Birdman, whether I liked it or not in the past, is very important. And I love the Birdman now.
Nice. I guess so a lot of ways I could take this, but I guess so the first one, how long ago was this made?
This would have been just about a month after the first one, I think. So
it's after Gilley's first Birdman comes?
Yeah, so there was one painting before, and that painting's decent. It's not as important as the first one or this one.
Yeah. Man, okay, well, cool. Well, just curious, what didn't you like about it? What sort of like, yeah, what didn't you like about it
It
when
was
you first
just
made it?
super simple,
Simple.
but that's the thing. A lot of people like simplicity. A lot of people think he's disturbing or creepy or that it just makes them feel something. And I think what's really neat about the Birdman is I think the Birdman has almost become synonymous with me. So it's
Yeah.
like when people see the Birdman hung up, they're like, that's Gilley's, you know. So there are Birdman stickers. I think there's a Birdman that hangs up at Tom's Daiquiri. The Birdman's everywhere. So yeah,
Damn, bro.
he's come to mean a lot to me. So.
Ubiquitous. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so tell me about the actual like construction of it. So you said it's simple. Was that reflecting the actual like making of it? Was it a very just easy? You did it real quick, or?
It was pretty quick actually. Yeah. If you see, most Birdmen are very solid, but there are a lot of brush strokes on this Birdman. It started with the beak, I think. I just started with the beak, and then I was like, oh, this kind of looks like a bird. So I turned it into a bird. And I was like, this bird should wear a suit. So I put a suit, and wouldn't you know it, it's become Gilley's Birdman. And if you look here, my signature has changed. It used to have a line underneath it. So that's kind of just to show you how it has evolved a little bit.
That's awesome. Oh yeah, because the ones we're gonna see after don't have the line. That's
no,
cool.
they don't have the line on it, and the first one doesn't even have my signature on it.
Like, what's it say? Signature. Okay, well that's great. And like talking more about this, so this is obviously like the Birdman. Like, have you? Is this so? If we go to like Tom's Daiquiri or just anywhere and we see the Birdman, is it always like this pose? Like, have you composed any other images like with him?
I have, yeah. If you look at my Instagram or my Twitter or Facebook, wherever.
MySpace.
MySpace. Oh yeah, my favorite. LinkedIn. No, I'm joking. So yeah, there are different variants of the Birdman. It's a very simple design, and I kind of like that. Like each Birdman looks a little bit different, and I've tried to replicate exact, but it doesn't appeal to me as much because I like that there are so many different variants of the Birdman.
Yeah.
Like I think right now I'm working on a few new Birdmen. I've got Birdman wearing overalls.
Oh snap!
I'm a sucker for overalls. Birdman wearing a bolo tie, which is really funny to me. And I can't remember what the other Birdman is, but yeah, what's cool is I also have Birdman T-shirts.
Oh, is that? Oh, that's the same
That's
one,
the exact Birdman.
That's
Yeah,
freaking
it's modeled off of the original. And do you know what NFTs are?
Vaguely.
Vaguely.
Very vaguely. Like, go ahead.
Mostly,
yeah. Very vaguely.
I don't fully understand them either.
Yeah.
But my buddy Toast and I are working on Birdman NFTs because he's really into NFTs and I'm more of a physical painter. So soon, I don't know when, we're gonna release a set of Birdman NFTs. And essentially NFTs, it's like from what I understand, it's like currency, but it's image based. I don't know.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I think
don't even think the people who share them know what they are. Okay. Cool. Well, that's freaking legit. And well, tell me about, because obviously this is, you know, like you said, it's really big, famous, prominent. It like almost in a way defines you.
Yeah.
So tell me about like how that came to be. Like that following, was it overnight? Was it like this gradual thing you slowly started noticing? And why do you think it is? Like, I guess you could start with the fry. That was 2 questions.
No, I'll answer all the questions. I mean, it just gradually happened. I know. Well, I mean, what's neat about Instagram or any social media, you notice what things work and what doesn't, or what don't. I feel like I did bad grammar there or something, but that's besides the point. You know when something is successful and when it's not, and it speaks for itself. When I have a Birdman hung up and it sells. That makes, you know, that means it's a likable image for some reason. I genuinely just think it's because it's ominous and it's simple. It's just a super simple design, and I don't usually paint simple unless it's the Birdman. Yeah,
that's pretty cool. I love how it's called the Birdman too.
Gilley's the Birdman.
Man. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing it. Well, do you have any closing comments on this? Like, you know.
No, not really. No. Do you have any other questions?
With this, I don't know. Like, I feel like you kind of answered all of them. Like, I mean, well, it's funny that you say ominous. I don't really. I guess because I'm into like, you know, like comic book style, or so I think that's why it gravitates to me personally. So that's really kind of cool.
What does it mean to you?
when I look at it, I feel like there's something humorous about it.
Yeah.
Because obviously I see it, especially with your shirt. I'm like, oh, that looks like the Scarface poster.
Yeah.
So like I want to. There's like some like a satirical element to it, almost or whatever.
It's kind of neat because like the idea of a bird wearing a suit doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
And birds aren't structured like this, but it's literally a man body and a bird face.
Yeah. So is there even a body on it? Is it just the head? Like, oh, there's so many
unanswered questions. I've actually never even thought about what his lower half looks like. I just realized that. I don't know if he has like normal feet or shoes or what. We're gonna have to figure that out.
Well, thank you so much for sharing the Birdman with us. Your most famous painting. I really appreciate it. Well, you ready to go on to the third one?
I'm ready.
All right, let's switch these out.
Let's make it happen.
Oh, the Birdman. That's freaking legit. It's gonna be my quest now to like just go up and down Fresh through just being like looking for like stickers.
Hey, you won't be able to miss it.
Right. If you find 100 stickers, you'll get a free chance to enter our sweepstakes.
There are a lot of bathrooms with Gilley painting or stickers on them.
That's legit.
All right, give me just a second.
No, you're good.
All right, are we good angle-wise?
All right, perfect. Now, bam, the one you talked about earlier in the interview, right?
Yeah, so this is the soup in a suit. So like I said, I just had this idea one day at work, and I was like, I made it happen, and you know what? It's really popular. I started making stickers for it, and I would hand them out, and people would place them places, and then there was literally a bartender who messaged me. She was like, "Are you the guy who paints who has the soup stickers?" And I was like, I thought I was in trouble or something. I was like, "Oh man,"
like, no.
She's like, I was like, yeah. Of course, people place them places and everything, and she's like, I have to have some, and I need some soup in a suit stickers. So it's weird, but the soup in a suit is super popular on Fry Street in comparison. Like the Birdman is relatively popular everywhere, but still, it really draws to the Fry Street crowd for some reason.
I'm curious. Well, because the first thing, obviously, I think of like that Andy Warhol painting, like the camel soup thing. Do you think was that like subconsciously related somehow? You think? Or?
No,
because obviously this literally just says soup, not camel soup, which I think is what that one says.
Yeah, and honestly, it is kind of modeled a little bit off of the Campbell's soup. I mean, you got soup and then you have happy soup here because he's happy, I guess. I don't know. Just like the Birdman, it is a little bit comedic. It's just like that. I mean, obviously, it's a can of soup. Why would it have a body, right?
I'm curious. Well, kind of like speaking of the Andy Warhol, like viewers who have seen this, or other artists, like, do they make that connection? Do they like try to think that you're saying something like that, like? And does your work get dissected in that way? Do they really break it down?
Not these sort of paintings, I don't think. Mm-hmm. I think there are a lot of paintings that I do that bring a lot of emotion out of people.
Yeah.
But these ones are just very fun. They're just fun characters, and it's nice to have a little bit of that here and there, because obviously life is, it's hectic and it's stressful and it's emotional. But this,
I would love to have this in my house.
I've got just you just run off with it. The whole plan was for you to just heist my paintings.
Get 'em, boy. Well, talking about this, so you said you shared the story of how this came to be. You're working one day and you just think like, oh, this idea would be funny, and I want to ask, like, is that a recurring element with your development of works? Is it something that just comes to you, or like some ideas like more concentrated?
I very rarely go out of my way to plan something, because I like to, so much of my life is scheduled or planned based off of my calendar and everything. What's nice about my paintings is I like not having something to plan for. I like it to become something and go, holy cow, I made that. But when it comes to the soup in a suit or the Birdman, obviously that's, when I make new Birdman, I know exactly what I'm trying to do. Or if I'm making paintings of people, I've painted. We'll go over that in a little bit.
The portrait. Okay, so you always say starting with the line. What was the origin of this? What was the sort of starting point for this piece?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I started with a can of soup. Because
so it starts with that. And
yeah,
then,
I needed to gauge how much space the can of soup would take in comparison to the body itself.
nice.
Yeah. Do you have any other questions about it?
Oh yes.
Oh, I wanted
do.
to hear all of them.
And so I want to ask, like, so you start, you mentioned, like, oh, I don't get like expensive gear. I just start with like simple stuff you can get at your local store. Same thing with this.
Same thing with this one, yeah.
Okay. What all were you using, and did you like stick to a certain color palette or anything?
Red, black, and white, like I said. And honestly, if you look at most of my paintings that I did in the first 6 months to a year, they only had red, black, or white. Because for whatever reason that resonated with me. I didn't really like the idea of using other colors because I felt like that was my thing starting out. But then obviously I've branched out, and you're going to see that in some upcoming paintings. But yeah, honestly, I used the cheapest paints, cheapest canvas. It's just good times. And honestly, this is the first time this has been out of my place too.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it did have I need to repair it, but it did get hurt at some point because.
That's perfect. And just sort of asking, or going off of that, like, and not leaving your place. So you finish a piece such as this, like, is that like, do you sometimes just paint, just like have them? Like, is there always the intention to like try to sell them, or do you just sometimes like just have them carried around your house?
That's a really good question, and honestly, I am willing to sell pretty much all my paintings except for a few of the ones I'm showing today. Like my first one, honestly, the Birdman, I'd sell it, but the price point is huge.
That's what even for your first one, I was saying, like, I mean, because like people know like yours, that's Gilley's first one. You're gonna want to buy that, so you already need some money, you need a couple of million, just like, hey. Oh.
And that's the thing, and I think I would even sell a lot of the original Soup in a Suit, the original Birdman, but the price points are not going to be small. Like I said, on average, I sell a painting for $100, sometimes $200, depending on the painting.
Yeah. So quick question, by the way. Sorry to cut you off.
Okay.
I kind of like just lost me. So, do you hold off on selling a painting sometimes? Do you sort of like let it like sort of gauge like how well it's being liked before you? Because if you sell something too quick, is it like, oh, I didn't sell it for as much as it was worth? Like, do you work at all like that?
I only post the paintings that I feel are ready, and when I mean ready, it means I feel them enough, and that hey, I would be happy with someone having this in their home. I'd be happy with someone having a print of this. I'd be happy with someone seeing this on social media because I don't want to post garbage. I don't want to. I'm all about quality over quantity because, like I said, there are 50 other paintings that are hung up around my place or that I have in boxes that haven't seen daylight just because I'm all about that quality,
Ooh. And it's well worth the wait. Oh my goodness. Oh, cool. Well, Soup in a Suit. You say it so easily. I'm like, Soup in a Suit. Soup in a Suit is super.
I've said it a billion times now.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for showing it. Last comments on it before we move to the next one?
No. I appreciate you asking about it. This one's just, it's really special. Special to me.
So, like, 100 years from now, Gilley will be known for Birdman, Soup in a Suit.
And I'll be honest, I've been trying to figure out who my third character is going to be because I haven't found him yet. I love things in threes, so obviously I've got Birdman, Soup in a Suit, but I'm trying to create that other one, and it'll come eventually. But
it's gonna be one of those paintings like you low key like threw away. You're like, what people like okay, I guess this is this one. Like you said, can never plan for it. It just happens.
And that's exactly true. Yeah, it's actually exactly true. And honestly, this is gonna replace the Mona Lisa someday. They're just gonna be like, let's take it down.
They're gonna replace the Mona. They're not even gonna notice.
Why
does Mona Lisa look different?
They're just gonna put it in front of it. Just
exactly. That's beautiful. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing. You ready to go on to the fourth one?
Yeah, I'm absolutely ready.
All right, bet. We'll switch those out right quick. Oh, man.
All right.
Nice. My goodness. Groovy.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite paintings. Nice. This is probably the painting that I'm one of the most proud of because obviously emotion, but it took me a lot of time, and I remember telling my most recent ex, I was like, I had wanted to paint this painting for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
This is Robert Johnson, and it's just titled Robert Johnson. And I don't know, do you know the story of Robert Johnson?
Perhaps if you tell it in my room, because I know that name. Definitely.
Yeah. So he's known as the King of the Delta Blues, but essentially there's a whole story to it. But the small amount of the story is that he sold his soul to the devil so that he could be a tremendous, musician.
Okay.
Yeah, and by the way, tremendous guitar player. There, like I said, look at the story. There's a lot more to the story, but that's the small.
That's like the
small nugget of it, and I adore this painting. Just the brush strokes.
We can probably see it on camera. Like I'm seeing like how intricate it is. Like that was the first thing that struck me. Like you can see each individual stroke. Like nothing looks to be like blended. That's great. And how recent is this? How long ago did you make it?
That's a good question. Let's see. Okay, so I did this in July of 2022. So it's coming up on a year ago.
Nice.
Yeah. It's relatively recent, and what's unique about this is there are different types of the art styles that I use, because you see, for a while I did a lot of just random lines, which I still adore using sometimes. But I also did just, like I said,
you mind?
Yeah, go ahead, touch it. It's got a clear coat on it.
Nice.
Yeah, and one of the most famous pictures of Robert Johnson is him with the cigarette.
And so what was sort of drew you to the idea? Was it you just liked the story? You liked the musician? Like what was?
Yeah, I've always been very drawn to Robert Johnson and honestly the 27 Club altogether. Just like the idea of really amazing artists.
Hendrix, Joplin, Cobain.
Morrison, Jim Morrison. Just a lot of people have died at the age of young age, period, and it just resonates with me that someone who is young can make such an impact on society as a whole.
Like I'm 27, I'm like, dang. Well, people know me at Buc-ee's because I'm always getting chili there, but that's different. Well, so going off of this, and I mean, what? Because this is just my reading of it or whatever, viewers. But I see a lot of emotion put behind this. Like I see a lot of blah blah. Like, what kind of state of mind were you making? Because obviously this was something you had wanted to paint for a while. So, like, was there? I'm trying to explain. Was there ever a point where you felt ready to take this on? Like, was it something that like maybe 2 years ago you wanted to do, but you felt like you weren't ready for?
I think I genuinely remember wanting to paint this from relatively close to the start, and then finally I was like, I'm gonna finally tackle this, and I was. Then I was in a much better state because I was in my most recent relationship, so we were in a good time period there.
Nice.
So I was in a decent state. I was still going through some depression problems and everything, and I don't know why this story resonates with me so much, but I think it's just the idea that someone younger or whatever can accomplish tremendous things and make
Huge
such an impact. And I've always been very driven by the idea of doing something great,
Yeah. Well, it's like it's not about like how long you live, but like what you did or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's great. And so now I'm gonna ask two very basic questions that as me, a non-painter, is gonna ask, but I speak for the common person out there. So, first thing, what was the hardest part about this? Because to me, this looks extremely complex. So like, if there even was one.
I think the biggest thing that I didn't know what to do, and the biggest decision I had to make was how I was going to do the hands, because obviously they're not curved in the way that you play guitar, but that's a lot of my work is very abstract. It's not exact as to the way human anatomy is, right? So essentially, I think the hardest decision that I made was making the hand look the way that it does. Because obviously no hand looks like that, but it makes sense to the painting. It works for some reason. He's not even playing an exact chord there. Like it's just there, It's assumed, I guess. But I would say that would be it. But like I said, this is probably one of the paintings that took me the longest to do.
I can tell, and I'm curious about this. So obviously, I have the pleasure, the fortune, being up close and seeing it. So I'm seeing every detail. Now, is there a different viewing experience you feel like, someone being up close and, someone from like far away?
Yeah.
And is that something you're cognizant of when you're painting?
I think what's really crazy to me is there are some paintings I think that I have that are better from a distance than up close, or better up close than from a distance. And I think definitely seeing this one in person, up close, I think it's a much different experience, because
it feels like a different experience. I haven't even seen it, but like there's something that I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, it makes me emotional when I look at this one, genuinely, and I can't fully explain why, and I guess that's the beauty of art, beauty of painting, and how does it make you feel?
Intimidated.
Intimidated.
It makes me feel intimidated because the eyes, like I'm like right next to it, and
that's a good
say,
point.
But yeah, tell me about the eyes and whatnot. Your decision to do those, like, I mean,
I don't like painting pupils.
Pupils?
It's not because I can't. I can, but I think what's so crazy about the eyes is it is the gateway to the. It is genuinely the gateway to the soul. You can read a lot about people from their eyes, and what's neat is when I don't use pupils, it allows the viewer to read a little bit deeper into it, because you've instantly lost what they're thinking inside their eyes. I don't know if that's too convoluted or too complex.
No, that made perfect sense.
I think it means more to me when I look at this. What is he thinking? What is the meaning behind this? And when you ask those questions in regards to art, because honestly, there are going to be paintings that I look at and you look at. We have two very differing opinions on it.
Yeah. Man, that's freaking brilliant. And just, so going off with this. So you said it's a replica of so there's a photo of him that you essentially did, right?
It's black and white.
Black and white, nice. Oh, so it was your color. I love it. And well, tell me about where you exhibit this. I feel like this could be something that's huge and very heavily popular in music places, whether it be I think Nashville, New Orleans. It sort of feels like that would be perfect.
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
So it has hung up in bars before. And these days I do take this one to art shows. Honestly, I just love showing this one off.
Yeah.
Because I love this painting so much. And honestly, I would love the honor for this to be hung up in a music venue or something around here. And I've been trying to work on getting some paintings up at certain music venues that I know of. But yeah, it would be an honor for this to be hung up at a studio or something.
I guarantee it will.
Yeah.
Right now, live on air, I'm putting $20 on that. This will eventually get it. And I want to ask about the outlines of your works. The body itself and the guitar. The hands.
No.
This is probably a rather simple question. Do you always outline? Do you ever just do the body? Is that do you start with the foundation and work your way like that?
A lot of artists start with pencil or pen, or they start by drawing it out. I don't. I start with a shape. Start with a shape, and with this one, I don't know where I started, but I think I might have gauged it. I genuinely don't know how I started this one. I either would have started with the guitar or his head. And if I remember correctly, I painted over the head at some point to make it right. And yeah.
So Jen, you said you were making this. You were at the start of a relationship.
Yeah, this would have been probably about mid in that relationship, the mid time period. So it was kind of at the end of the honeymoon phase, but it was still okay. It was still good. So I was in a decent headspace, but still not the best.
Nice. And I'm, if you don't mind me asking, just when you're making something, are you able to obviously have to concentrate on this? Do you sort of, if you're in a relationship with friends, your day-to-day life with friends, are you sort of all about it? Or are you able to break away? Okay, I'm going to take a break from painting. Now I can focus on this. Or is it where you're wrapped in it to where you need to finish it before because I hate to admit I'm kind of like that sometimes. When I'm making movies, I have to be all about that, and it's not healthy. I will say that, but yeah.
In recent times, I've gotten a lot better, and honestly, I haven't been in. Obviously, I was engaged, but I was in a relationship after that too. I've gotten a lot better about being able to compartmentalize both my social relationships to my paintings and my music, because it is hard to juggle things sometimes. So I'm very excited for the next time I'm in a relationship to see how I do, because I think I've matured a lot and I've become a much better version of me, a much better person.
Follow Gilley on Instagram, slide into those DMs. That's freaking great. And and so when you made this, if I may ask, well,
Yeah.
what are some impressions? Because you asked me my impression.
Yeah.
And I was very scared and intimidated. What do other people like? If I may ask, like what
Yeah.
you've garnered, like is there like a sort of general consensus that like from viewers that you've noticed?
Yeah, musicians love this painting because most musicians really know the story of Robert Johnson. A lot of normal people just also know of Robert Johnson, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people just like the technique a lot.
Mhm.
I think they also feel a lot, and perhaps maybe they don't even know what to feel because when I look at it, I don't know what to feel sometimes.
Does it
And
change?
it's very, very rare for me to have a painting that I've done or a painting that I see and not know how to feel about it. And all I know is I really like it.
I love it. I don't like it. I love it.
You
I'm
love
sure
it.
the viewers do too. Well, thank you so much for sharing this with
Yeah.
us. And so the picture for this was called, or the title for this was called
Robert Johnson.
Robert Johnson.
Very simple.
I bet. Well, that's the fourth one. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Do you want to go and share the fifth one? We're down
Yeah,
to our
I
last
do.
two.
Let's see.
You're right. Like looking at it from here, there is a different like experience like that I'm looking at.
It is. It's very crazy to me.
Nice.
All right.
Painting number 5.
Hey,
All right.
I didn't.
Woo! All right, cool. First thing, this is very striking right off the bat, similar to the Robert Johnson painting. It just sort of like sticks out. Like aggressive isn't the right word, but I like feel the
Yeah.
strokes you've done for this. And firstly, Gilley, what's this piece called?
This one's called "The Boy Is in His Head." This is. I think this is a painting that I can't sell, and it's honestly it's not even one of my best. It's not even that good of a painting. I love using this sort of art style, and the biggest thing that's important about this painting is it's a painting that I painted after I contemplated ending my life, right? And I mentioned earlier my dog saved me, and a friend saved me from
Molly?
getting Molly dog,
Molly.
getting me away from doing that because I was very close, and afterwards, in my emotional state, in my very broken state, it was probably one of the darkest days of my life. And I think it's important to admit things like that. You know?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
admit,
No shame in it.
No, talk about it because I mean, a lot of us go through those sort of things, and a lot of people are really scared to talk about those things. And
Yeah.
fortunately, I've gotten a lot of help, and I got on proper medication and certain things that have allowed me to function a lot better. And I haven't had thoughts like that in a while.
Nice.
But this painting is super important to me because it's a reminder of the importance of living, and
Yeah.
it reminds me of all the beautiful things that I have to be very thankful for and very happy about. And even though certain things are bad sometimes, right?
Yeah. Man, I
Yeah.
have to share this quote. We were talking about
Yeah.
Orson Welles.
Yeah.
No such thing as coincidence. Talking about this always reminds me. Advice for viewers. I help everybody. Like quote about Orson Welles. If you want your story to have a happy ending, that depends on where you end the story.
Yeah.
That's always like, I don't know, people can look at that as like a very pessimistic, like, oh, if it's happy right now, that means it's gonna get bad. I've always been a glass half full person, so it's like you're going through some tough times or whatever. Well, you don't have to end the story there. Thankfully you didn't, in your life, you're here,
Yeah.
fucking, I'm meeting you. Now I'm able to get views on YouTube because of you. And look, and now you made this and look at all this artwork. So, it's important, like, where you end the story and like,
Right.
clearly it's a happy story right now. It's like, it's an action adventure,
Yeah.
swashbuckling, awesome.
It's genuinely a reminder, and to your point, there is, I mean, there's a lot of things that wouldn't happen if I hadn't have experienced some really bad times, really
Yeah,
bad
yeah.
things, like the end of my relationship with my fiance. I wouldn't be painting. I wouldn't be known as Gilley. I wouldn't be
Awesome.
here. I wouldn't be connected to Toasty Bros.
I wouldn't have made Facelift with y'all. We'll see. I was in a horrible period. I'm making this movie called Facelift. It's amazing.
I
Yeah,
can't
it's
wait to
amazing.
see it.
Yeah, you see Playlist. It's awesome. But enough about me and my horribleness. But so yeah, back to this. Okay, so I wanted to make sure. So is it the boys in his head, like BOY''S or like plural BOYS boys?
The boy is in his head.
The boys
Yeah.
in his head. Okay.
And I focused on this sort of art style for a while, and this is something that I kind of just picked up. I'm sure there's a proper name for it.
Nice.
Once again, with the normal cruddy paint that I use, I just soaked the painting in water, and then I just dropped paint on it and just let it become something. And then let it happen. And there's a good series of paintings that I did this, and some of those paintings are the ones that make people really emotional because I was in a really dark time period when I painted this type of style, and this one was the first in that time period for me to do something like that. And like I said, it's just important. It's just that reminder that, hey, you know, despite the bad things, it's, you know,
keep on living.
Keep going.
Matthew McConaughey. Well, cool. And so I wanted to, well, I guess you kind of explained, but you said like, you know, in this art style.
Yeah.
So could you break down what that meant? Were you referring to like the water, like leaving that, or was there like anything else like specific like about this style that you could point out to us, like, oh, like this, that?
Yeah, I think it's just the colors. It just the right colors. It's the reason I titled it the way I did was because it looks like something is exiting his head. So it's like he's
like
trying to
fumes.
get rid of whatever it is, and it's also real dark.
Yeah.
So I mean, and look at the rest of it. It's just very, very light, and it may mean something completely different to you. That's just.
Well, you saying that like the water thing, it started to make me think like, oh, you know, this character's head was on fire. He was going through all this stuff, and he got doused with water, and so it's like those like, you know, like the fumes or like the smoke. Well,
it's
elementary analysis.
you know, it makes sense though. I mean, and it's also just like. I've got so many things that it reminds me. That's why I have to have this painting. You know?
Great. And I want to ask, like, I guess about this piece, but your other pieces too. Do the titles come before, after, during?
Always after.
Always after.
Unless it's like Robert Johnson, or I've done a painting of Larry David.
Oh,
I love that painting.
Bro.
Larry David, Birdman, Soup in a Suit, things like that. But usually it's literally 2 minutes before I post it. I'm like, I've got it. No, you're okay.
Sorry.
Bless you.
Thank you. All right, cool. Well, going back for this, when you did this, like, so, you know, you're in Headspace and you're painting it and whatnot, and like, was it, at the time, do you remember if it was like just something like, I'm going to make an image, or was it just like you were kind of like doing just kind of whatever? Like, was there more, in other words, was it a more concentrated effort? Was it just getting stuff out there?
Yeah. In that time and on that day, I was trying to be very much I was just trying to be in control. I just wanted to be in control. And so this painting, I wasn't in control. I just let it happen. It was really nice, and that's something I've had to work on, is like I wanted to be in control all the time. But recently, I'm like, hey, let things happen. That's what I was talking to you about earlier, because it's a newfound realization. So I let it happen, and then I just let it kind of drip around and like make it happen. And then I started drawing a figure, you know?
Yeah. So it starts with the background, letting the colors, and you start with the figure, the head and whatnot. And it looks like part of the neck, and you like leading the shoulders and whatnot.
Yeah, and then it bled through, and it's just it's really cool.
Yeah, it was really freaking great. And tell me, so the colors here, obviously, like you got the warmer colors here, the face here, and was that well, first of all, I guess, so what are the colors used for the face?
Honestly, it's mostly just black. I think after the fact, I think what I did is I let it dry, and then I put the white on it, if I remember correctly, just to make it stick out just a little bit more.
Okay, so that was something you like, you're cognizant of, like, okay, I'm gonna have, you know, black here to make it pop more, add white, and so there was that sort of like 3-step process.
Yeah, yeah. So it's essentially background. Then while it was still wet, I put the black in there, and then went over it with a little bit more black and then some white, just to make it pop just a little more on the nose and the eyes.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much it.
I dig it. And I want to ask, well, 2 things. One, how do you like this technique? How do you learn that? Was that something you just like experimented one day with? Was it a YouTube tutorial? Was it? I
don't watch videos. I don't do anything. I just paint what I feel, and I just, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I do something else. You know, like I'm self-taught completely, and that's kind of the way my brother Toast is. I mean, he just paints what he feels.
I want to meet this Toast fella.
Hey, you'll have to interview him next.
Yeah, bro. Well, cool. And so what I want to ask, because, you know, I think it's mainly through the eyes. I see like the shape of the eye specifically with this and Robert Johnson. And this was before Robert Johnson, right?
This was after.
Oh, this was after. Okay,
so this is actually pretty recent. This was a month or 2 or 3 after my most recent relationship, and I was just in a really bad spot.
Okay, got you. And so I want to ask, like, so Robert Johnson's first, and like, do you kind of not look back, but you know, again, because I saw like the eyes look very similar to me, and so do you sort of like build off like previous works, like, you know, take a lot of what you like, with Robert Johnson, I tried this, so I'm gonna try it with this painting now. Is there a lot of that carryover between your works?
For sure. It's trial and error. I learn from what works and what doesn't in my head, and then I apply that to the next, and then to the next, and then to the next. You know, it just, that's kind of just the way it works, you know.
Nice. Well, freaking groovy. And you said this is one that like no sell, right? Like probably not sell.
Probably not. I mean, obviously, if someone offered me a good amount of money, I'm sure I could put a price point on all of them. But this is one like I love. It's a story. It's a story to tell, and it's my story, you know.
And is this present like in your apartment? Like, do you carry it with you anywhere? Do you have it set up?
It's so usually in the recliner I sit in mostly. I'm actually surrounded by some important paintings. So I got the Birdman, the Soup in a Suit.
Love it.
I've got my first one, and I've got this one, and one other that's not here right now.
Larry David.
Yeah, Larry. Well, Larry David is somewhere around there. It might be Larry, actually.
That's awesome.
But yeah, no, this is one that's it's just a good reminder, and the importance of friends, family, close people in your life. There's nothing wrong with getting help or letting people in when you feel completely alone. You know.
Yeah,
so.
Man. Thank you so much for sharing that, dude.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. And all right, well,
happy to share this one.
Yeah, the boy's in his head. All right, Bet, you want to finish this off? We'll talk about your last one.
Certainly.
Ooh, a lot of colors. What a way to go out on this one. My goodness.
So this is one that's not released yet. As you can see, there's a lot more color. So. Lately, what I've been doing is I've been very happy to have a lot of color in my paintings. If you go on my Instagram, I've been using more than just black, white, and white.
Like
and
you
red,
scroll through, you'll gradually see like color and then blah, blah, blah.
You really do. And I think it's very much correlated with me getting better in my mental health space and getting on proper medication because, man, I feel better. I feel good. I mean, obviously I have my bad days. We all do.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
This is unreleased so far. It also doesn't have a title yet, but whenever this interview is released, I will post it on the same exact day.
Let's see, since the camera's here, do this, do your hand like that so the title will appear here. Boop. All right, cool, and the title will come right there. All right, perfect. Well, okay, so it's obviously untitled. And tell me what colors did you use? And was this your first time, like, consciously, like, I'm going to use hella colors? So it's happened before? Okay.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty recent painting.
Nice.
So, yeah. This one, I've taken it to art shows and stuff. And
I bet this gets like...
It gets a lot of views. A lot of people look at it for sure. And honestly, it's like all the colors I have. And if you notice, it's got a lot of the similar art styles that I utilized in the previous ones. So you got that kind of watercolor-esque background with the acrylics. And then you've got a little bits of the texture of Robert Johnson, but you also have a newer thing that I do where I just tell people I like to make a mess. You know, like when people are like, "How do you do this? What's your technique?" I just make a mess. I start with a shape, and I like to let it become something. And
because I was like the first thing I immediately noticed, like in contrast to Robert Johnson having like these sort of like medium size like strokes and whatnot. Like these look like just like and whatnot.
No, literally, I just went.
And how is that? Because I mean, I know you know.
Yeah.
You're very alpha, you're very OP, so you're probably like, oh, it was easy. But like to me, that seems like I just, for me, I can't comprehend like how someone's able to like do this in such a way to where it seems random, yet it makes sense. Like once you look back and like, oh, clear like cheekbones and whatnot, and like so just tell me about that. Like, how do you get a feel for that?
I just feel it, man.
You just feel it,
and that's the thing. And I know it's hard to comprehend that because I used to be the same way. Like I was like, how did they do this? How do you paint like that? I just stopped thinking completely. I just let my emotions flow out. It's so much more healthy to put your emotions into something like a painting than other things. I mean, there are a lot of things that I could have put my emotions into that I didn't.
Yeah.
So this is just a safe avenue. This is a good avenue. Same thing with music.
Yeah, and tell me about this figure. Is it anybody? Was there a reference point at all?
I like to tell people that each of the people that I make, they may not look like me, but they're all me.
Really?
They are all me because there's emotion in it. It's what I was feeling then. It's me.
And so you said this was most recent, like so, like this year, yeah.
This would have been like 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks
So
ago, okay,
I'm
nice.
continuously painting. I paint a lot, like after work or
That's
like
legit.
yeah.
And I want to ask, the idea of like your works being ready before you release.
Yeah.
Is this ready? You'd say?
It is ready. It's just been waiting in line for the post, because I generally post just once a week or sometimes twice, because I like to stockpile paintings, because there are time periods where I don't feel it. I don't feel like painting, or I feel like painting, but I can't get it right.
Mm-hmm.
So there are plenty of time periods, same thing with music, where I just can't do it. So I always have some available so that I don't ease back on posting or don't ease back on my following or anything. So I always have something available.
Damn, bro, I can't wait to see the reaction to this. And I want to ask about like the colors. So, it's like, is it intentional? It's sort of warmer on this side and it gets cooler on the right. Was that something that just looked like pleasing to you? I know you were just feeling it. So
I think what I did is I soaked it just like normal.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did is I had all the different colors, and then I was taking a brush and I would hit it with the yellow, the orange, the blue, and I would let it happen and let them bleed together to become what it is,
that's weird. But it's a very simple question.
Yeah.
What's your favorite color?
Favorite color is yellow, surprisingly.
Yellow?
And
Okay,
and
nice.
I rarely use, I rarely wear yellow. I rarely use yellow. I've been easing into it lately, but yellow has been a color that stuck out to me since I was real small.
Yeah.
Still
Very
small,
vivid.
but like real small.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
But yeah, it's yellow. What about yours?
Blue.
Blue?
Yeah, just like regular, probably like that type of blue.
That's a beautiful.
Yeah,
blue.
I like it. And okay, well, cool. And going off of that, and so, you mentioned, I'm gonna. Well, first you start like with the paintings we've seen previously. It's gonna be like black, white, blah, blah. This is more color. So when you start a piece, is that something like do you at least set like a basic? I'm gonna use these colors, or I'm gonna do this. Make that. Do you have like at least?
Sometimes, yeah.
outline?
Sometimes it just kind of happens. Yeah,
Okay.
just I'm like I just like make a mess and then I make it happen.
Yeah. I always,
Yeah.
always told people, as a songwriter, like, I suck at lyrics or whatever. But it's like the idea that sometimes like just don't think about your lyrics, just write it, and then like after the fact, that's when meaning kind of comes from it.
Yeah.
Whether or not that works, I don't know. But yeah, I'm not that good, but that's what. So if my stuff doesn't make sense, it's because like I'm hoping for y'all to make sense of it. But that's me.
Oh, yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah,
Hey,
cool.
What does it make you feel? Because I still got to come up with a title.
A title for this. Oh man, the pressure's on Aaron to come up with a title for this. Well, you saying like that you're just feeling it. Like the first thing that came to my head was that Talking Heads album, Stop Making Sense. So that's literally what I get. Stop making sense and just do.
Stop making sense, just do.
So,
There it is.
we ripped off two different things. We ripped off the Nike and then Talking Heads. Put that together.
There you go. You just named it.
All right, man. You
Stop
heard it
making
here first.
Stop making sense, just do.
Just do. That's perfect. And cool. Well, where can we expect to like see this? Because you said you've shown it a few times already.
Yeah. It'll just be at my pop-up art shows. We should have one coming up around next month at some point, and just stay tuned to my social medias. I post way too much.
Yeah, it's all good. And cool. Sort of closing comments on this and whatnot. Just curious. So I don't see much of an outline. Is that correct, or was there one? Or
No, I don't outline any of my paintings.
Really?
I just made a head, made a body.
That's
and
really
just
groovy.
made it happen. Cool.
All right, well, cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing it. Any closing comments on this?
No, I think that's it. Do you have any other questions for me?
Man, I don't know. I asked the most nail-biting one. What's your favorite color? Honestly, I think that's it. And well, I guess if you want to share more about those little pop-up shows, like what exactly those are. And,
Yeah. Usually, it's just Toast and I. We'll be up usually in between beer alleys. So beer alleys consisted of Bearded Monk, Dayton County Brewing Company, and Eastside. It's kind of like a little middle area. We'll just put our stuff up, and then people will just walk by and
have a little drink. Like, hey, yo.
Yeah, and that, and sometimes at Toasted Bros fundraisers, we'll be selling our art as well.
That's
So,
freaking legit.
and honestly, they come randomly. Usually we don't plan. We're just like, hey, you know what? Let's do it. And then
You just put the word out and get hella people just come.
Yeah.
You got it like that.
yeah, it's really cool. The support that the community has for us has been phenomenal.
Heck yeah, dude. And yeah, what a community it is too. Like, ooh,
Love it. The best place to be at for art and music. Genuinely, I love it.
Heck yeah, dude. Well, thank you so much, Gilley, for sharing this with all, your work with us, your live story, just everything about it. I feel like a better person now for having got the interview, so thank you so much.
I appreciate that.
Well, yeah, I guess that'll do it for today's episode. Any closing comments just for like the episode itself?
Just have a good time.
Heck yeah, bro. And, did I hear a shirt?
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah.
Goodness.
Holy cow, wait. I actually have a gift for you.
Yeah, he mentioned a gift, so I was going to make sure not to end the episode before talking about this. I'm so hyped.
Give me just a second. So I got you your very own Birdman t-shirt.
Fucking Birdman. Yeah, that's awesome.
Birdman.
Boop. Damn, bro. So tell me, how many designs of Birdman do you have?
I've got several. I probably got 8 to 10, and then also I doodle them. So every time I doodle them, I send them to Toast, and he makes digital copies of them. And there are going to be so many more Birdmen to come, but this is the most basic design. This is the original, and it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Thank you. Aren't y'all jealous? All right, cool. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Heck yeah. All right, well, thank y'all so much for sticking around. That'll do it for today's episode. Check out Gilley. You won't regret it. I mean, obviously,
you won't.
Buy some of his work, too. I think I can say that. But all right, well, until next time, y'all. Take care. Bye. He killed it.
Awesome.
Woo.
Thank you, man.
And that's it.